Chosen one. Somewhere in locked rooms, behind clearance doors, the deep state just reads your name. Not a rumor, not a whisper, but in the silence of classified halls your identity is known. Files shift, eyes glance across screens. The echo of your presence has reached the chambers you never asked to enter, and in that moment, a truth older than governments breathes. For nothing is hidden that will not be disclosed, nothing secret that will not come to light. Luke 8, verse 17. This isn't fantasy. It's a revelation. You are not invisible. You are not unnoticed. You may think your life has been ordinary, your path obscure, but somewhere between red stamp folders and shadow briefings, a line was drawn, your name. The chill you feel is not fear, but recognition. The systems of this world have been alerted to a presence that cannot be ignored, yours. And while men may scan files and monitor signs, heaven has always known your identity, has always written it in its own eternal registry. Right now you stand at the threshold of disclosure. What was once hidden in silence is being shouted in corridors of power. The deep state knows your name. The question that remains is, do you know what that means? Picture the room. A basement lit by the hum of fluorescent light. A map stretched across a wall, pierced with colored pins and string like veins of a hidden body. The air tastes of metal and ink. A file slides across a polished table, its cover stamped with a word you were never meant to see. Inside, among pages of coded references and blurred photographs, rests something unshakable. A single sheet with your name. This isn't a Hollywood thriller. It's not a story on the late-night news. This is the atmosphere of awareness, the kind where your existence presses against the walls of powers that never asked your permission. They know you, not as a number, not as a statistic, but as a presence. Imagine the scene. Two men leaning over a folder, whispering. A woman in uniform highlighting a line in red. A late-night briefing where your name is read aloud in a voice so calm it chills the blood. Somewhere, in the vast machinery of surveillance and state, the ripple of your life has been tracked, noted, and acknowledged. But here is the mystery they cannot explain, the part the files cannot capture, the reason. Why you? Why now? Why would institutions that claim to monitor threats of war, fraud, or power find themselves holding the record of someone who has simply walked their life, survived impossible odds, and carried a fire in the silence of ordinary days? Lean in, because this is where the veil begins to thin. They know your name, but do you know what that means? What does it mean when earthly systems trace the contours of a destiny they cannot interpret? What does it mean when forces built on secrecy recognize a soul marked for revelation? The next moments will open the file wider. Not the file in their drawer, but the one in your spirit. You will discover what they saw, what made them pause, what lifted your name from obscurity into classified speech. And more importantly, you will discover what you must do now that the whisper has broken into sound. Files, memos, surveillance logs, pages where someone, somewhere, thought they were writing the truth of your existence. In their language, you are an entry, a code, a notation scribbled in the margin of bureaucracy. Their paper speaks in cold ink, timestamps, cross-references, underlines. But heaven has its own registry. Long before men built their archives, the psalmist declared, "You have kept count of my tossings, put my tears in your bottle. Are they not in your book?" Psalm 56, verse 8. What they jot in sterile reports, God has already recorded with compassion. What they reduce to statistics, He raises as testimony. The institutions of this world pride themselves on observation. They watch, they analyze, they compile. Yet their archives are shadows of a greater record. The book where every name is written with eternal intention. Governments may store data, but God stores destiny. Agencies may whisper your identity in secret, but the Spirit speaks your identity in power. Understand this duality. Your name exists in two libraries, one earthly, temporary, fragile, stamped with clearance levels and kept behind steel doors. The other heavenly, indestructible, eternal, guarded not by locks, but by covenant. One sees you as anomaly, disruption, possible threat. The other sees you as chosen, appointed, called. And right now, you stand at the intersection of both. Their files have caught your trace because your life radiates beyond what flesh can interpret. Their language cannot define the glow of your survival, the improbability of your path, the unseen hand that keeps lifting you, what they call pattern, heaven calls purpose. This is why you are here. This is why you are listening. Because at this moment, you are meant to know you are seen on both levels. The deep state knows your name, but God already wrote it in his book. Their awareness is intimidation. His awareness is invitation. And this is where the choice opens before you, isolation or community. Will you stand alone with this knowledge, or will you step into a circle of those awake to this same calling? Backhand index pointing right if you are ready to walk with others who carry this awareness. Click join now. Don't wait until the next wave of secrecy closes around you. Join and stand with the first chosen ones. A circle not built by governments, but by destiny. A gathering that witnesses one another not as entries in files, but as brothers and sisters carrying the fire of appointment. The records of men may fade. The archives of heaven never will. Decide today where you will anchor your name. What did they notice? Why does your name echo in rooms designed for secrets? It wasn't a statistic. It wasn't an accident. It was evidence. Not the kind stacked in legal cases, but the kind that leaves investigators unsettled because it doesn't fit their charts. They saw the patterns. The way you survived what should have ended you. The car that spun on black ice, yet somehow you walked away. The sickness that lingered, yet never claimed you. The doors that should have stayed bolted, yet swung open just as you approached. They saw the improbabilities. How you appear in places just before change breaks. How conversations tilt when you enter a room. How leaders pause, if only for a second, when your voice enters the atmosphere. They log it as anomaly, because the word destiny doesn't exist in their manual. They saw the presence. You felt it too. That sensation of unseen eyes, the weight in the corner of the room when you speak truth too boldly, the air shifting when you step into environments that weren't ready for your arrival. They recorded what you always suspected, that your life carries an intensity that can't be ignored. And still, they don't understand it. To them, it is irregular behavior, unexplained outcomes, clusters of influence where there should be none. They stamp it, file it, archive it. But to heaven, it is the fingerprint of divine intention, what they call coincidence. The Spirit calls covenant. You have felt this evidence in your bones. That moment in the crowd when you realized people were watching you without knowing why. That dream that repeated until you could no longer dismiss it. That door that closed sharply, only to redirect you towards something better prepared. That strange sense of protection, as if unseen barriers rose up whenever danger tried to press too near. All of these, they felt it too, though they would never confess it. The files bear witness to what your spirit already knows. You are marked, and so the page with your name is more than paper. It is an earthly echo of a heavenly decision. The deep state did not create your calling. They stumbled onto its evidence. They catalog what they could never command. Chosen one, hear this. The eyes you have felt on you were not imagination. The files prove what your soul has whispered for years. You are known. You are observed. And far above their cameras and pens, you are commissioned. Who are they? The phrase deep state is more than shadowed agents or whisper conspiracies. It is a symbol of entrenched systems, institutions and networks that persist beyond elections, beyond leaders, beyond public view. Bureaucracies that never sleep. Committees whose names you will never know. Structures that study disruptions because stability is their idol. Understand this. When your name crosses their table, it is not because of casual curiosity. It is because your presence signals disruption. You carry a current that bends the atmosphere, and systems built on control always monitor what they cannot predict. But here's the truth they will never admit. Their attention is not condemnation. It is confirmation. Think of it. Why would they notice you if your life fit neatly into the silence? Why would they mark your presence if it didn't carry weight? Why would they whisper your name in secret unless destiny itself pressed it onto their lips? Their observation is not proof of weakness. It is proof of significance. When deep structures tremble, it is because a greater structure is rising. Your presence alarms them not because you are dangerous in the way they define danger, but because you are powerful in the way heaven defines power. They matter only because their notice confirms your momentum. You do not need their approval. You do not need their permission. Their files are earthly mirrors of a heavenly truth that you are chosen to disrupt, to realign, to awaken. So when you hear they know your name, do not let fear be the first reaction. Let validation rise. Their recognition is heaven's reminder. You have stepped onto a stage larger than you realized. What is it that unsettles them most? It isn't your name on a page. It isn't your face on a screen. What they fear is what your life, unleashed, could accomplish. They fear your voice breaking the silence, because truth, once spoken, spreads faster than their memos. It bypasses gates, leaps borders, and ignites rooms they cannot control. They fear your compassion becoming action, because compassion dismantles hierarchies. When influence shifts from the few to the many, when resources flow toward the overlooked, when justice touches the forgotten, the grip of old powers loosens. They fear your clarity in a fog of confusion, because when you see through lies, you become immune to manipulation. And when you help others see, you multiply that immunity until deception collapses. They fear your presence in places you have not yet gone, because you are not meant to hoard light, but to carry it into dark corridors, into communities suffocating under oppression, into nations longing for healing. And above all, they fear that you will remember this is not about ego. This is not about one person standing tall. This is about power being redirected away from secrecy, away from corruption, away from manipulation, and toward service, toward truth, toward the restoration of people. What they call a threat, heaven calls a mission. What they dread is precisely what you were born to deliver. So let the record show. Their fear is confirmation of your calling. Their resistance is evidence of your assignment. And their surveillance is the accidental witness that your life is aligned with a greater plan. Chosen one, understand what their awareness means. The moment you were noticed, the timeline accelerated. What could have waited is now pressing. What was hidden and waiting has been thrust into the open. There is no more delay. You stand at a tipping point, a threshold between obscurity and appointment. The whispers of your destiny have broken into the halls of power. And when that happens, hesitation becomes costly. This is not the hour to retreat. This is not the season to shrink back. If you have been waiting for a sign, if you have been asking when the time will come, hear this with clarity. The moment has arrived. Every file stamped, every briefing whispered, every glance exchanged in those locked rooms is heaven's trumpet to you. Act now. Step forward. Declare your calling. Move into the place prepared for you. The urgency is not fear. The urgency is birth. The world is shifting, and your assignment is part of the reason why. The deep state may know your name, but heaven has written it with fire, and the hour to walk in that fire is now. For so long you have lived in the shadows. You walked through rooms unnoticed, carried burdens in silence, wonder if your life would ever matter beyond your own small circle. But now the narrative shifts. The same systems that ignored you can no longer overlook you. The hidden has become headlined. Think of the seed. For months it rests beneath the soil, unseen, covered, dismissed as lifeless. But inside, pressure builds. Roots dig deep, stems push upward, and one day the surface breaks. What was hidden becomes a tree that cannot be ignored. So it is with you. What was buried is now rising. Think of the lamp, who lights a flame and hides it under a basket. No, it is set on a stand, so it gives light to all in the house. Matthew 5, verse 15. You are that lamp. The years of obscurity were preparation, not punishment. The concealment was not rejection, but cultivation. Now the covering is lifted. The world will not see you as invisible. The files on those guarded tables prove it. Your name has moved from obscurity into recognition. But hear this, recognition is not vanity. It is vocation. This is not about being famous. This is about being faithful. To be headlined in heaven's book means to carry responsibility on earth. To be lifted into visibility is not to boast, but to serve. You are no longer just a hidden one in the corner. You are the appointed one on the hill. So step into this identity with humility and with courage. Hidden no more. Concealed no longer. You are appointed, visible, chosen. Not because you demanded it, but because destiny requires it. How will you know this is real? How will you see confirmation in the days ahead? Watch closely, for the signs will not always be dramatic, but they will be undeniable. You will notice sudden allies. People you never expected will step into your path, offering support, guidance, or opportunity. They may not even know why they were drawn to you, but their presence will feel like an answer waiting before you even prayed. You will find doors opening unexpectedly, opportunities that were once locked, conversations that were once closed, access that was once denied. Suddenly, the handle will turn, not because you forced it, but because the season shifted in your favor. You will dream with greater clarity. Recurring images, phrases, or encounters will surface in your sleep, echoing with meaning you cannot dismiss. Do not brush them aside. Write them down. These are confirmations that your inner life is aligning with your outer calling. You will be reached out to without explanation, a message from someone you thought had forgotten you, an invitation from a place you never applied. People will appear with timing too precise to be coincidence. You will sense increased protection, that near miss on the road, that danger that should have reached you but did not, that barrier that seemed to rise out of nowhere. These are not accidents. They are signs that heaven is guarding what earth has begun to notice. Each of these signs is personal. They will look different for each chosen one, but the effect will be the same. You will realize you are not imagining this shift. It is real. It is happening. And the files in their rooms were only the earthly evidence of a heavenly truth. So stay awake. Document the moments. Test the signs. Let them strengthen your faith, so that when the world whispers your name in fear, you can stand in confidence knowing heaven whispers your name in love. Chosen one, awareness demands response. When the files are opened and the whispers begin, silence is no longer neutral. You cannot unknow what has been revealed. To stand still now is to let others define your story. To step forward is to claim it. This is the moment to mark your agreement, to create a visible sign that says, I accept my name being known. I accept my calling being real. It is not enough to feel it quietly. You must answer it openly. Here is how you seal it. Perform a symbolic action. Press the Super Thanks button below this message. Select $20, a seed amount, not a transaction, but a declaration. Then in the note, type the words, I am counted. That phrase becomes your covenant, a marker before heaven and earth that you refuse to hide, that you embrace your appointment, that you stand as one of the first chosen ones. The world may try to reduce you to a file number, but this action declares, I am not a statistic. I am a name recorded in eternity. Look below this very screen. You will find the button. It is simple, but it is weighty. Your click is not just digital. It is spiritual. It is the difference between thinking about destiny and declaring destiny. Do not delay. Do not let this moment pass into forgetfulness. Seal your response now. Press Super Thanks, right? I am counted. And let heaven see what the deep state has already whispered. Your name is known. Chosen one, awareness is only the beginning. Recognition brings responsibility. The moment you step into visibility, you must also embrace discipline. This is not about paranoia. It is about stewardship, managing the weight of being known with wisdom. Here are your next steps. Simple but essential. 1. Set boundaries. Not every voice deserves access to your heart. Not every invitation is for you. Learn to say no. Guard your time, your energy, and your focus. Visibility without boundaries becomes vulnerability. 2. Build a trusted circle. Isolation is dangerous. Gather a small group of people who understand your journey, who can remind you of truth when you are weary, and who can hold you accountable when pride tempts you. Even chosen ones need companions. 3. Document patterns. Keep a record of signs, dreams, and shifts. Write them down. Review them. Over time, you will see the threads of destiny woven clearly, and this record will strengthen your confidence when doubt rises. 4. Practice daily declarations. Speak life over yourself. Each morning, declare, "My name is known in heaven. My steps are guarded. My purpose is unfolding." Your words shape your reality. Let them align with your calling. 5. Rest and discern. Do not confuse urgency with restlessness. The mission is real, but it is not frantic. Take time to rest, to breathe, to listen. Stillness is not inactivity. It is preparation. 6. Seek counsel when needed. Wisdom is not weakness. If the weight feels heavy, reach out to mentors, spiritual leaders, or trusted advisors. Even prophets sought counsel. Even kings needed guidance. These practices are not optional. They are your guardrails, your training ground, your armor. The deep state may know your name, but they do not guide your steps. Only discipline, prayer, and discernment will ensure you walk this calling without stumbling. Remember, destiny is not carried by chance. It is carried by stewardship. You are chosen, yes, but you must also choose daily to live as one who is chosen. Chosen one, pause and breathe. You have heard the truth. Your name is known, both in the files of men and in the book of heaven. Your identity has been marked. And now, before you step forward, receive this prayer of covering and commissioning. Father, we thank you for revelation. Thank you for the unveiling that nothing hidden will remain concealed, that every chosen one is brought into light at the appointed time. I lift up this listener, whose name has been whispered in secret halls, but shouted in the courts of heaven. I ask for protection. Surround them with unseen shields. Let every scheme spoken against them be dissolved. Let every shadow tracking them stumble into the light. Where men record their movements, let heaven record their victories. I ask for wisdom. Grant them clarity to know when to move, when to rest, when to speak, and when to remain silent. Let discernment be their constant companion, that they may never be deceived by false voices or distracted by hollow invitations. I ask for courage. Embolden their heart to step into calling without fear. Break every chain of timidity. Strengthen their voice to declare truth in places where lies have reigned. Let them walk boldly, not in arrogance, but in holy confidence. I declare over them that every door appointed will open, every ally assigned will arrive, every provision needed will be released. I declare that no file, no memo, no earthly record will outweigh the record of heaven. Their name is counted in eternity, and their purpose will not be erased. May their life become a headline not of scandal, but of testimony. May their story shine like a lamp set upon a hill. May every hidden seed now grow into a tree of influence, branches stretching wide, fruit feeding many. And may they know, beyond doubt, that they are chosen, and that being chosen is not a burden but an honor. In the name of the one who reveals all secrets, I seal this prayer. Amen.